How is Quinn McKay, the broadcaster, different than Quinn McKay, the wrestler?
Well, I would say that Quinn McKay, the wrestler, was, and I haven't been able to step into her shoes in a long time, but she was definitely like a more close to who I am every day, I think. Well, no, that's not necessarily true. They definitely are like two halves of me, like a Jekyll and Hyde. Like if you put them together, that would be who I am on the everyday. So Quinn's very like meek and reserved and inquisitive, and then Quinn's the wrestler is very like punch first, ask questions later. No nonsense, super athlete. And then she was also a lot more edgy. I had blue hair, I had tattoos. It was really the way that I had cultivated myself as an individual growing up, and playing that up as a character because it made me feel really strong. But they're both like I said, yeah, it's like a Jekyll and Hyde. If you put them together, then that's me.
Well, that's interesting too, because you say that's a Jekyll and Hyde, a polar opposite, and here you are pulling it off. What do you think has led to you being able to do that? Being two personas like that, so different, and still be you?
Oh, that's also a really good question. Also, I'm really sorry. I came down with the flu last night, so if I have like the most vile hacking cough in a second, that's why, and I apologize in advance.
You don't have to apologize for anything. You're Quinn McKay. You don't have to say anything. Just go.
Thank you. I think that what really helps me, one, I have great compartmentalization skills that I learned from a very young age, because I'm kind of an all-over-the-place person. I don't have, like, ADD, I don't have ADHD, I don't claim to have anything like that, but I am one of those people that's very creative, and so I think about a lot of different things at once. So if I didn't compartmentalize that and separate myself from it, I'd get nothing, ever. And I also have a theater background, so I started doing theater when I was 10 years old, I think, and competed in speech and debate all throughout high school. I was my speech and debate captain. I was my drama club's president. I went to state in several different individual events. So being able to put on a second skin and really embody a person is really interesting for me. And I think maybe one of the reasons that I'm good at it, and thank you for saying that, I really appreciate it, it's just that I find it so fascinating to peel back the layers of a character and get to know somebody from the inside out and be able to portray that. It's so fascinating to me.
Well, I think obviously you're learning it because you're there right in the thick of everything. But in my years, it's always been important to be able to do that so people will connect with you rather than, oh, he or she's just playing a character, a persona. And
right.
For you to be able to extend that and to do that, and especially so early in your career, that to me is just not to pad your ego anymore, but it's just, I just think that's really good and really good directional for you. What made you decide, okay, pro wrestling?
Well, I played roller derby for about 8 years, and I retired from roller derby because it was a team sport that everybody on my team, at the time at least, and they've come a long way since then, seemed to be playing individually. And I was really disappointed by that, so I did like a soft retirement, and I took a step back, and I was like, well, what is the whole reason that you wanted to do roller derby? And I remember when I was a kid watching Beth Phoenix, and she was the first woman that I had really seen embody being like strong and also beautiful and feminine. And it, like, I think that was the first time in my life where I was like, wow, you could probably do anything. And I've lived pretty much every day of my life just trying to capture the magic. And in essence, that is Beth Phoenix, because I think she's a legend. She's basically my hero. And that's what inspired me to get into roller derby in the first place. Like, well, if Beth Phoenix could do this, I can do this. And I watched wrestling pretty religiously when I was in high school or I was in college. And so whenever I did my soft retirement from roller derby, which inevitably became a full-on retirement because it beat up my body way worse than wrestling has yet, like, thus far. But I was like, oh, I'm going to give wrestling a shot, and I'm going to go and take a couple of my first bumps and see how it feels, and if it's something that I want to continue to do, then I will. So it's kind of a hobby that just turned into something that I loved, that turned into my job, which is the American dream.
Again, another interesting aspect, because you're a Midwestern girl, correct?
Oh, yeah, through and through. Living on the East Coast has been an experience for me, for sure.
Well, in what way or ways?
Well, in the Midwest, there's wide open spaces. Like, there's space to breathe. There are less people. There are less buildings. There's more places to walk around. And it is way more safe than the city that I currently live in. And that's just the facts there. But, I mean, I like the East Coast. I think it's beautiful. I think that Baltimore is beautiful. But I'm always going to love the Midwest. I'm always going to love the wide open spaces. That song gets stuck in my head anytime I drive back across the Midwest. And it's just, I mean, it's my home. You're always going to miss your home.
Well, you mentioned Baltimore, the Inner Harbor, the port, all that, really great. The Camden Yards, that whole area down there, Fells Point, really nice areas of that area, Baltimore.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right. So you're a Midwestern girl, and you mentioned the roller derby. So where in the Midwest did you actually grow up, and how big was roller derby there?
Not huge. So I was born in Phoenix, Arizona, but I spent the majority of my adult life and adolescence in just different areas in Missouri. So I lived in Texas for a while, I was in Oklahoma for a while, kind of moved around, and then we settled in Missouri. And I graduated from, I don't know if you've ever seen the show The Ozarks or whatever on Netflix, but that's where I graduated from high school. And then I went to college in Springfield, Missouri, and spent the majority of my adult life in Springfield. It's a tiny, cozy little town, but maybe like 140,000 people. Total college town, but it was a really great experience. Roller derby was not huge there. Interesting fact, though, there were 2 roller derby teams. Nobody attended enough for there to be 2 separate roller derby teams, but there was like this huge blood feud. Like, if you were part of one, you were basically in a gang. You could not communicate with anybody that was on the other team.
So Quinn, how did you get through that?
Well, I ended up playing for both over the course of the 8 years that I played, so.
Oh, you broke the mold. You did it again.
Yeah, I did both.
All right. And then when you're going from roller derby and then all of a sudden you're going into pro wrestling, how do you even find a place to train?
So that took a lot of just digging in general. So Springfield is about 4 hours from Troy, Missouri, which is where Harley Race's school is located, and it's about 3 hours from both any of the St. Louis schools or the Kansas City schools, which just really didn't seem like an option for me, driving every week. But I did a lot of research on the internet, and I asked around because I had heard rumblings that at some point somebody that I sort of knew peripherally went to a few pro wrestling classes in Harrison, Arkansas, which is just right across the border of Arkansas. So it's about an hour and 15 from Springfield. Still seems like a lot compared to just the 10-minute commute to my roller derby training. But, you know, when you really want something, you go for it. So I messaged the page. It was Mid-States Wrestling. I messaged them, and the man that runs it is one of the most amazing men I've ever met in my life. His name's Jason Jones. He's so kind. He's such a nurturing trainer. So if you're in that area, definitely go check his school out, because he'll teach you the basics, and then it's onwards and upwards from there, basically. But I messaged him, and JJ left me on red for like weeks and weeks and weeks. And so I finally got a hold of someone that I knew had been to his school before, and was like, hey, will you just buzz him and be like, I'm actually serious. I've got stage combat experience. I have roller derby experience. I could totally do this, which is completely irrelevant to the skill set that I would learn, that I would need as a professional wrestler. But he finally messaged me back, and I think it was just a couple weeks after that I went out to the school and made the trek and took my first bumps there, which was horrible, because as much as I loved that training gym, it had no air conditioning. It was basically a huge garage. It was one ring at the time. It was a shared bathroom with a construction company next door, so it was like always disgusting, and you couldn't leave toilet paper in it because they would use all of it, so you had to like carry around your own. It was an experience, but I treasure it.
You really had to pay your dues, and that's a lot of what a lot of this is about too. So you really are starting there, and hey, if you can make it through there, you know, all right, I may have a chance.
Yes, yeah, and from there I met Ace Steele at a show in Arkansas, and he told the head trainer at the National Wrestling League, NWL, in Kansas City about me, and they had just opened up a school. They did a closed circuit, mandatory show in Kansas City, where they just wrestled in Kansas City and St. Louis. They made their own tours. They broadcast their own television show, but like just locally in the area. And so that's where I got some of my first TV experience as a personality. And so that was invaluable. So R.I.P. NWO. It's now defunct, but it was beautiful while it lasted.
Well, Quinn, you mentioned Arkansas, and we know how today with social media, how just things have evolved. But I'm wondering, in Arkansas, are there fans in Arkansas that still believe?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's so interesting having traveled the country and seen what is still left over from, like, the old days when it comes to fans, you know, because there are people, even if they don't truly still believe, they've at least convinced themselves enough that they want to, and that's what you want to go for. You want that suspension of disbelief. And the fans in Arkansas are they're magical people. They truly want to believe. They want to believe everything is real. So I've seen some just absolutely astounding matches take place in front of them because they're all inspired by it.
From your experiences, did you find roller derby or pro wrestling more aggressive?
I mean, both, but for different reasons. In wrestling, you're working together to put on a combat spectacle. And it's really violent, and it's really aggressive, and it hurts. But nobody's actively trying to hurt you. And in roller derby, people are actively trying to hurt you. And I was a jammer, and I don't know if people are super familiar with the rules of roller derby, but the jammer is basically, like, I'm the point scorer. So if you let me get through, I'm scoring points on you. Like, I get a point for every opposing blocker I would pass. So I was the target of all of their ire. If I got through, they'd lose the game. I took a lot of nasty spills.
It's a very interesting sport. Down here in South Florida, I don't know if they still have it, but we actually have some skating rinks, and they used to have a pretty big club that would run events and compete against other clubs throughout the state. Like, this is going back 2-3 years ago, so I don't know if they still have it. But cities down here like Pompano Beach, which is in South Florida, Lakeland, which is in Central Florida, places like that had roller derby. It's amazing. And to see it, that sport used to be really big, like maybe back in the 70s, because there wasn't as much, and TV would show it, and fans would really get into it, especially in California.
I know you guys have Jacksonville. You have New Jacks, and they're really good. They're always Division I, so they always compete really well. So you've at least got that going. I don't know if Orlando has one. I don't know really about South Florida, but I know Jacksonville has a really good team.
Quinn, do you have plans of wrestling again?
I'm sorry?
Do you have plans of wrestling again, getting in the ring?
I don't know. I really love wrestling. I love what I do. I wouldn't be mad if I ended up doing one or both in the future. I think that an athlete's goal is always to, do what they do full time. But I lead a really good life. I have a really great job. I love my job. I love what I do. I would one day like to get back into the physical side of things, but we'll see what happens. Only time will tell.
Did you learn and watch from your matches, and do you learn and watch from your commentary?
I hate to watch myself perform, and I think that any sort of athlete or performer will tell you the same thing. And I didn't have very many matches before I got signed to Ring of Honor, and I was signed to an exclusive contract, so I've not had any matches since. And there's not a lot of footage of the few that I had in between, but the ones I do have footage of, I have watched. Like, my very first match ever is on YouTube. I'm not gonna. I think I've shared it on my Twitter, maybe. It's my very, very first match ever. So that's about it. I learned what I could from it. Mostly, I learned how to hate myself even more than I already did on a daily basis. And then, as far as commentary goes, I really only do commentary for Future of Honor, and I am not super good at it. It's something that I really look forward to the opportunity to get better at.
Well, even your backstage interviews and different things like that, do you watch yourself after that, or no, you don't watch that either? Yeah,
because I still attend the Ring of Honor dojo on a weekly basis, we go through and we do film study occasionally for all of our segments, because it's a really big deal for some of the dojo kids to be up on the main roster now. So we go through and we critique things, and we watch them back
it's natural, which is good too. Even though you're portraying somebody, it's natural. But at the same token, it's always good to, even when I do an interview, just go back and listen to it and just hear how I ask questions and things like that. Even sometimes when you don't want to, like, I don't want to have to look back. I don't want to see myself. I don't want to hear myself, et cetera, et cetera.
Don't you hate it?
But you know what? I've learned over the years, Quinn, it is one of the best and most valuable tools you can have, because someone could tell you something and that's good, but to actually see it for yourself, what they're talking about, or something you may pick up that you didn't even know you were doing, you could see that or hear that back when you do it again and watch it again. Absolutely.
You should never stop learning, especially in this industry.
Well, that's so true. And we're going to wrap this up because I appreciate you spending all this time. It's been just an unbelievable joy for me to do this because I really enjoy your work with Ring of Honor. It is so cool. If you weren't, I know you mentioned some things already, theater, anthropology, just a multitude of hats that you've worn or are wearing. But if you weren't into pro wrestling, what do you think you would be doing right now?
I would probably still be in radio. At some point, I thought maybe for a little bit that I would entertain the idea of going into news journalism because I really enjoy talk radio. So I think that my goal probably would have ended up working for some sort of NPR syndicate.
What has it been like working with Ian?
Oh, I love Ian. He's such a dork. You cannot be around Ian Riccaboni and be in a bad mood. And I remember, the very first time, I know we're wrapping things up, but one last quick little story. The very first time that I hosted the show and did stand-ups with Ian Riccaboni, I found out an hour before the show at Hammerstein. So it was entirely on the fly. It was all first time. I went in completely blind. But Ian, I think to make me feel better, matched his tie to my bow tie. And I don't think he's ever going to realize how much that meant to me. To just calm my nerves a little bit.
That is so cool. That is awesome. And the two of you too have different looks, but a little bit similar. It seems like there's a good broadcasting chemistry there.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a really easy person to talk to. He's a really easy person to bounce off of. I think that especially in that situation, he provides a lot more of the facts, and I provide a lot more of the color commentary. But I really enjoy that. He has such a head for dates and facts and names, and just knows everything about everything all the time. And I'm always just like, listen, Ian, I think you're great. Let me make a joke. And that's about it. And he lets me, so.
But it's been a really good hire by Ring of Honor with Ian, just as it has been a really good hire to honor and to hire Quinn McKay. So that's awesome. And all right, so I'm going to get through these real quick because these are like the last part of the interview and we're just throwing things out. So mozzarella sticks, Quinn.
Yeah. Man, I love mozzarella sticks. There was a group of us that hung out with one of the guys on production who does one of our promo packages, a lot of our promo work, Zane, who's an excellent artist. But we all hung out on New Year's Eve, and he made 3 boxes of mozzarella sticks, and I feel like I had forgotten how much I loved them. The cheese melts whenever you pull them apart, and they're warm, and you get to dip them in a condiment. Lately it's been pancakes, but 2020 is definitely the year of the mozzarella sticks. More carbs, more dairy.
Yeah, a lot of carbs, right? So, and you mentioned the theater and acting and speech, and that is so cool. Could we ever find a Quinn McKay performance from back in the day up on YouTube?
Oh, I don't know. I think the best bet, I played Buffy Summers in an improv, it was like a staged reading, half improv performance of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I filled in on their season 6 because their regular Buffy had gotten pregnant, and obviously Buffy's never been pregnant. So I got to fulfill my ultimate goal of becoming Buffy Summers in an improv group. And that might be on YouTube somewhere. This Springfield Improv. I don't know if or not.
Well, now that Quinn McKay is involved, it will be famous. Everyone will know about it.
Oh, gosh.
So, and then Quinn, Do you have a favorite bow tie?
Yeah, I absolutely do. I bought one for Final Battle that was black sequin. No, it wasn't even black sequin. It was black glitter to match the black blazer that I bought. And that's going to be one that I bring out any special occasion that I can, I think.
And did you have a good time being interviewed and helping Danhausen?
Yeah. Man, what a trip that guy is. I really hope for the opportunity to get to work with him more in the future because he's such a character and he keeps that character up like basically all the time. It's a joy to watch. I
watched that and I was just...
I saw someone say that he's a good backstage interviewer and I disagree, but I think he has potential.
I watched that, what he did with you all, and that was just incredible. I had a smile. I was grinning from ear to ear with you, and then with Dalton Castle. I thought those two had great chemistry, just everybody. It was really just something, and to see him, just how he's evolved, because Danhausen, the persona, has not been around long. To see him and how he's evolved over the years, it's really been a cool experience there. So I did want to ask you about that. And then, Quinn, anything coming up for you? Ring of Honor, I know obviously you've got the Center Stage show in Atlanta on January 11th, and you guys are going to be in Charlotte on January 12th. Are there any other things that you're doing? Anything coming up? Is there social media for you, for fans to check out?
Yes. So I believe on Twitter, I'm just Quinn McKay. And then on Instagram, I'm real Quinn McKay because I can't get the Quinn McKay person to give me their handle, even though they've never made a post, and they made their account in 2013, but it's okay. I'm not mad.
What's wrong with them? Wait a minute. They don't know who they're talking to. Who do I have to talk to? Wait a second.
I sent them a message. They've never responded to it. I don't believe they've ever seen it. And I was like, hey, listen, I really appreciate it if I could have this handle. You clearly don't use it, and nothing. So, real Quinn McKay on Instagram, it is.
All right, Quinn, thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it so much. Thank you for the time. All the best in the future.